This video is on adding and subtracting mixed numbers. So it's not really any different than adding or subtracting just normal fractions. You still need a common denominator. Okay, so step one is still common denominator. And really for most of what we're going to do, we're almost going to ignore the whole number, the 2 and the 1 in this case. Okay, so we're just going to look at the fraction part now. 3/4 and 2/3. Common denominator I can do is 12, right? If I multiply this by 3 and this by 4, they'll both become 12ths. So this becomes 9/12, and the 2 just kind of tags along, plus this becomes 8/12, and the 1 just tags along. So at this point, I add up the whole number, so 2 plus 1 is 3. Add up the fractions, 9/12 plus 8/12 is 17/12. Now, you may think this is our answer. It's still similar to before. We want to look to see if we can simplify it. But the main problem I have with our answer right now is we have a whole number. So there's a whole number. And then this is an improper fraction. So remember, improper fractions are greater than 1. So 3 and 17/12 is not a great way to say something because I'm saying I have 3 whole, but really there's some whole within that, okay? 17/12, there's 1 whole in there. So really, I need to take 17/12, and if I turn that into a mixed number, that's 1 and 5/12, okay? So that 1 and 5/12 plus the 3 I already have means my proper way to say this answer is 4 and 5/12, okay? You can do that, or if you wanted to turn it improper, all improper, not just the fraction part, include that 3, you could have done that. We'd had 3 and 17/12. The 3 would have been 36 out of 12, plus the 17 you already had. So is that 53/12? So either of these is fine because this is an improper fraction where the entire fraction is improper. This is a mixed number where the fraction part is a proper fraction, okay? So it needs to be one of the two of those, not this weird hybrid mix where it looks like a mixed number, but it has an improper fraction in it, okay? So you can't leave your answer like that. So look out for that because you need to then turn it into something like this. All right, so let's practice that some more. Go ahead and try this one on your own and look out for that weird mixed number improper fraction mix, because if you have that as your answer, you need to change it to either completely a mixed number or completely improper fraction. Then hit play to check your answer. All right, so this one, common denominator I can do is 18. So this becomes 10/18 plus 4 and 15/18. So 4 is just kind of hanging out, going along. And then 10 plus 15 is 25/18. Now I can't simplify this, but it's again that weird hybrid mix where this is improper, okay? So I need to think, okay, how many 18s can I pull out of there? 1. So 4 is now becoming a 5 because I added a hole in it. And then you gotta figure out, well, how many is left in the 25? If you have to, just do the subtraction, that's fine. There's no problem with doing that all out. You end up with 7 18s remaining. Okay, so 5 and 7 18s. If you had turned it improper, the whole thing, we'd have 72 18s for the 4, plus the 25 we already had, so it'd be 97 18s. So either of these answers is in a proper form, either of them would have been fine. All right, Lawrence spent 8 1/4 hours on Saturday and 6 1/2 hours on Sunday working on a science project. How long did he work in all? And then the second part of the question, what is that in hours and minutes? So I want you to go ahead and pause it, try to definitely do part 1 on your own, and then see if you can do part 2, and then hit play to get your answer. All right, so our key here is how much do you work in all? So we're adding these up. So we got 8 1/4 plus 6 1/2. So common denominator of 4. So this is still 8 1/4 plus this is now 6 2/4. So if I add this up, I get 14 as the whole number and 3/4 is my fraction. So this, I don't have to change anything. 3/4 is a normal fraction. 14 3/4 hours is how long Lawrence worked. Now, my second part of my question, what is that in hours and minutes? Well, 14, that's easy. So 14 hours, and then 3/4 of an hour. You may either know that's 45 minutes, but if you don't know that 3/4 of an hour is 45 minutes, what you want to do is you take the 3/4, and remember, time is out of 60. So I want my denominator to be 60. So I have to figure out, okay, what can 4 multiply by to get 60? So you may need to do division, but eventually you figure out it's 15. So 4 times 15 is 60. 3 times 15 is 45. So I could say 14 and 45/60ths of an hour. That's not simplified, but it's 45 out of 60. And since hours are out of 60 minutes, that means it's 45 minutes. So 14 hours and 45 minutes would be part 2 of this answer. All right, a giant tortoise traveled 2 2/3 yards when he stopped and took a nap for 3.5 hours. When he woke up, he traveled 4 2/5 yards. What is the total distance the tortoise traveled? Go ahead and hit pause and then do your work and then hit play to check your answer. All right, so what they're trying to trick you on in this part, we want to know the total distance they traveled. So again, we're adding, but we're adding up how far they traveled. So I only want these 2 numbers that are yards. This 3.5 hours one is actually fairly useless. Like, who cares that he took a 3.5 hour nap? Okay, so that's one of the useless pieces of information. So I want to add up the 2 distances, 2 2/3 plus 4 2/5. You find a common denominator, so in this case it would be 15. We've got 2 10/15 plus 4 6/15. So the whole numbers add up to 6. Fraction adds up to 16/15. So this is another example where I got this weird hybrid mix. So I need to pull out a whole. So there's 1 15 and 16. So that 6 becomes a 7, with only 1 left over. So 1/15. So he traveled 7 1/15 yards. And that's your answer. And in this case, it wouldn't really make sense to turn the answer improper. If it's a word problem, something like this, you wouldn't say an improper answer. That'd be weird. So 7 1/15 is a much more reasonable answer. All right, the Native Americans had 13 2/3 pounds of corn. They gave 9 1/4 pounds to the Pilgrims. How many pounds did they have left? Go ahead and hit pause, work out your answer, and then hit play to see how you did. All right, so this is our first one on here about subtraction. So how many pounds did they have left? Okay, so they started with 13 2/3, and then they gave away, so they took away 9 1/4 to the Pilgrims, and we want to know what's remaining. So same thing that we've been doing with the adding, it's just subtracting. I still want a common denominator. So in this case, that common denominator would be 12. So we get 13 8/12 minus 9 3/12. And just like we're doing with the adding, you do subtracting. So 13 minus 9 is 4. 8/12 minus 3/12 is 5/12. And that's your answer. 4 5/12 pounds of corn. So subtracting is a lot like the adding. Same thing, just make sure you're subtracting. All right, go ahead and practice this one on your own and then hit play to check your work. All right, we've had 6 and 9 a couple times, so hopefully at this point you're remembering that 18 is the lowest common denominator we can do for these two. So this would become 4 15/18 when I multiply it by 3, minus this would become 10/18 when I multiply it by 2. So 4, the whole number minus nothing is 4. 15/18 minus 10/18, 5/18, and there's our answer. Okay.